بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وبارك على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we have some other mention of the nusus in relation to the haqq of the zawj, the rights of the husband upon the wife. And it begins, An-Nawawī begins in this chapter in Riyāḍ al-Ṣāliḥīn. He mentions the ayah where Allah Ta'ala states, الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض بما أنفقوا من أموالهم فالصالحات القانتات حافظات للغيب بما حفظه الله حافظات للغيب بما حفظ Allah. And so Allah Ta'ala mentions that the men have been given authority over the women by that which Allah Ta'ala has virtued or at the state or given virtue or some of others, and by that which they have spent by way of their wealth. And so the righteous, submissive, guard and those who guard the chastity and guard the secrets of those that which Allah Ta'ala ordained for that to be guarded. Likewise, an-Nawawī, raḥimahullāh, he mentions the ayah, or the hadith rather, of Amr ibn Ahwas and والحديث of أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دعا الرجل امرأته إلى فراشه فلم تأتيه فبات غضبا وغضبان عليها لعنتها الملائكة حتى تصبح. حديث متفق عليه. وفي الرواية إذا باتت امرأة حاجرة فراش زوجها لعنتها الملائكة حتى تصبح. And so this narration mentions Abu Hurairah, by a narration of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He mentions that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated that if a man calls his wife to the bed and she does not come, and thus he goes to sleep angry with her, then the malaika curse her until she wakes up in the morning. This is a hadith متفق عليه. وفي الرواية, another wording, if a woman sleeps or goes to sleep whilst forsaking the bed of her husband, then the malaika likewise will curse her until she wakes up in the morning. Now, and so these particular texts are important in terms of establishing the affair that we've been discussing throughout these durus, and that's the affair of the fadl that has been given to the husband, the virtue that's been given to the husband, as well as the authority of the husband within the home. As we mentioned previously, the husband within the home is the leader of the home, and so thus has the authority. And as opposed to what we see now, when it comes to the manner in which, or the attitude towards the husband or the attitude towards the spouse, the relationship between spouses, where they will say they're equal. Such an understanding of that is erroneous. Just as you cannot have equals when it comes to running a land, running a country, in the state. You cannot have equals when it comes to the organization of the household. And thus Allah Ta'ala states in the ayah, al-Rijalu qawwāmūn ala an-Nisāʼ. Allah Ta'ala, He mentioned that the Rijal, the men, have been given authority over the women. And thereafter, Allah Ta'ala mentions the sabab, the reason why the men have been given authority over the women. By way of His statement, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, بِمَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. By way of that which Allah Ta'ala has given virtue and precedence to some over others. Meaning, as Shaykh al-ʿUthaymīn mentions, كيف فضل الرجل على المرأة في العقل والدين والقدرة والقوة وغير ذلك من الوجوه الفضائل. And so this is due to the fact that the men, they have precedence over the women in certain affairs. For example, in terms of aql, the uqul, in terms of deen, in terms of ability in certain things, and in terms of quwwah, yani physical strength. That the men are not the same as the women. That the men have been given authority over the women, or have been given precedence over the women in this affair. So if we're talking about, for example, now the aql, now the intellect, then when it comes to the intellect of the men, as we understand, with the shahada of the man is sufficient. One shahada of the man is sufficient. Whilst when it comes to the shahada of the woman, then it's in need of two. The witness statement of the woman is in need of two, whilst the witness statement of the man is in need of one. As for the fadl when it comes to deen, then the man, he is upon ibadah, and it's upon him from as soon as he becomes baligh, he enters puberty, then it's upon him to perform ibadah every single day of his life. Until the day of his death. And so he's consistently upon ibadah. And there's no gap and there's no break in that. As for the woman, then of course there are times when she will not perform ibadah. In terms of when she is on the menses. Now if the woman is Ḥayḍ, if the woman is experiencing her menses, then at that particular point in time, she will not be able to pray. In that particular point in time, she will not be able to fast, the fast of Ramadan. In that particular point in time, she will not be able to perform some of the manasik al-Hajj, some of the rites of Hajj or Umrah. And so what we understand from this, barakallahu feekum, is that first and foremost, before all else, that the men, as we said, they are upon ibadah at every single point in time. As for the women, then they may have some sort of breakage in that due to the Ḥayḍ or nifās, the menstruation or postnatal bleeding. And when it comes to the affair of the fasting, then now the woman, she makes up the fast at a later date if it's due to her postnatal bleeding. As for the salah, then this is not something that's made up. It's not something that she makes up after that. And so thus, even if you just count the amount of prayers that the man was to do during the day or during the month, then of course it will be more than the woman. When it comes to Shaykh mentioning, raḥimahullāh, the strength, and this is something which is understood. This is something which is ma'lūm, or understood and known, that the men, in general, have greater physical strength than women. And so due to that physical strength that the men possess, this is a reason for them being in authority over the household. Now, and so we understand, as the Shaykh goes on to mention, وَالشَّرِيعَةُ كُلَّهَا عَدَلٌ تأتي كل أحد ما يستحقه بمقتضى في الفضل. And so the Sharia, all of it is upon adl. Now, there's justice in the Sharia in totality. And so anything that is, any judgment that is made or any legislation that you find within the Sharia is upon justice. And everyone is given the Sharia and legislates for everyone, for everything and everyone, what they are deserving of. إذا كان الله قد فضل الرجال على النساء فإنهم هم القوامون عليهم. And so if Allah Ta'ala has given that degree and virtue of the men over the women in the particular affairs, then due to this, then we will say that this is why they have been given that authority over them. وفي هذا لا يدلين الواقع على فضل الجنس الرجال على النساء. وأن الرجال أكمل وأفضل وأولى بالولاية من المرأة. And likewise, when it comes to the affair of the men, then the men, no doubt, they are more befitting and better to be the head of state and in charge of the state over the women. It's due to the hadith, as we know, the hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, in which the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions, لن يفلح قوما ولو أمرهم امرأة. That a people will not be successful whilst they have a woman in charge of them, an authority over them. And so this is what we understand from this ayah, barakallahu feekum, in relation to that. Thereafter, we have the mention of the hadith of Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu, in which the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam states, إذا دعا الرجل امرأته إلى فراشه فأبت عليه لعنتها الملائكة حتى تصبح. And so if a man calls his wife to the bed and she refuses, then the malaika will curse her until she wakes up in the morning. As in this narration, in relation to the la'an, by the curse of the malaika, يعني أنها تدعو على هذه المرأة باللعنة. And so, when it mentions that the malaika, نعم, تلعنها, and the malaika curse her, then this is the malaika making dua against her. Meaning the malaika making dua against her, and this dua specifically asking for the la'na to be upon her, and for the curse to be upon her. What I understand from the la'na itself is the tard wal-ib'ad an rahmatillah. And the la'na itself, when it comes to the rejection and being distanced away from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإذا دعاها إلى فراشه يستمتع بها بما أذن الله له فيه فأبت أن تجي فإنها تلعنها الملائكة وإياذ بالله، أي تدعو عليها باللعنة إلى أن تصبح. And so, if the husband intends to enjoy his wife and he intends to have relations with the wife, and so thus calls her to the bed, then, and she refuses, then in this scenario as mentioned, the malaika make dua for the la'na to be upon her, the curse to be upon her, wa iyadhu billah. Dua be made that the curse be upon her until she wakes up. And so, thereafter as well you have the next wording, the second wording, that mentions أنها إذا حجرت فراش إذا حجرت الفراشها أو فراش زوجها فإن الله تعالى يغضب عليها حتى يرضى عنها زوج. And so you have a wording as well mentioning that if she was to forsake, leave off the bed of her husband, then the malaika, or rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will be angered with her until her husband is pleased with her. وهذا أشد من الأول. لأن الله سبحانه وتعالى إذا سخط فإن سخطه أعظم من لعنة الإنسان. So this is even more severe, as the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worse than that of the creation. The first narration mentions the displeasure of the malaika, and so thus, due to their displeasure, the malaika make dua against the wife, the woman, forsaking the bed of her husband. And so this word is referring to the anger of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, and the displeasure. And so, no doubt, this is even more severe upon the woman, the individual woman. Now, and so, what we understand from this, barakallahu feekum, from this particular wording and these ahadith, is that the affair of marriage itself, from the goals of marriage, is that it aids the individual when it comes to the ghadr basar. It aids the individual to lower the gaze. From the goals of marriage, likewise, is that it is a means of protection, protecting the individual from a zina. From the goals of marriage, likewise, is that it brings about offspring, many children. And so, each of these three of these ahdaf and these particular goals of marriage mentioned, the main thing that aids this, and the main reason in order for these goals to be achieved, is the relations between the husband and the wife, the marital relations between the husband and the wife. Raḥimahullāh. And so, it's not befitting that the spouse rejects this being fulfilled. For no doubt, like anything we do, we seek to attain the goals of that action. And marriage is no different. We are seeking to attain the goals of marriage and the greatest benefits of marriage. So, when the Prophet ﷺ informs us that if a man was to see an individual that is pleasing to him from a woman, then he should go home and have relations with his wife, and this is better for him. This is a direct wasiyah or nasiha in Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and how a person should deal with whatever fitan he finds when outside the home, and how he should be receptive to those fitan. However, if the man finds that his wife rejects his advances, then no doubt this is now a scenario which has prevented him from fulfilling his desires in a manner which is halal. Likewise, if the wife rejects the husband, and when the husband pulls the wife to the bed, then this no doubt will become an affair, or make the affair of him lowering his gaze harder for him. The relationship between the spouses, barakallahu feekum, is one where the husband should be doing whatever he can to aid the wife in getting closer to Allah and attaining Jannah. And vice versa, the wife should be doing whatever she can in aiding the husband to get closer to Allah and attaining Jannah. It shouldn't be an action where the person is thinking about their own selves only and what they want, in relation to the dunya. Rather, the affair of marriage is one of sadaqah, one of friendship and companionship. And just as we would want for our companions to be from those that are mustaqim, upright, and be from essentially the inhabitants of Jannah, it's what we want for our spouses. So we should be able to aid them, we should be doing whatever we can to aid them in order to do that. And so in the scenario, as mentioned in these narrations, where the wife rejects the husband calling her to the bed, or the wife forsakes the bed of the husband, then this is not aiding him in getting closer to Allah and staying away from the muharramat, which essentially is the goal of marriage, when all is said and done. Likewise, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions تزوجوا الودود الولود فإن مكافركم يوم القيامة مكافركم الأنبياء يوم القيامة. Marry the loving childbearing woman, for indeed I will boast of great numbers from amongst you, amongst the other Anbiya, other prophets, on Yawm al-Qiyamah. We understand that from this ummah, the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is that we are seeking, or he seeks for us to be from those that are great in number. So he can boast great numbers of his ummah when they're brought forth. As we understand and as we know, barakallahu feekum, that there are some of the Anbiya that will come Yawm al-Qiyamah and they will have one individual with them, meaning one follower. And the Nabi may come and he have two followers. The Nabi may come and he may have a small group of followers. The Prophet ﷺ wants to be from those that has the great number. A great number of followers. There's no doubt can occur by way of having many offspring from those that are amongst the Muslimin, and those from the Ummah Muhammad ﷺ have many offspring. However, of course, this cannot occur if, again, when the husband calls the wife to the bed, she refuses. Indeed, from the affair of marital relations, from the benefits of marital relations, that brings about offspring as well. And so what we understand from this is that the fact that these goals are not achieved when the husband is refused by the wife, or when the wife forsakes the bed of the husband, the fact that these goals are not achieved, and we know that this particular action, i.e. the refusal, is one that is of great evil. And hence why the la'an and the curse of Allah Ta'ala is mentioned in regards to it and in relation to it. Because much evil can come from it. And so this narration, no doubt, is a warning to the wives when it comes to the mu'amala, their dealings with their husbands. And that just as it's a case where everyone has their rights, whether the husband or the wife, the person will be striving to fulfill the rights of that respective spouse. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Jazakumullah khairan. Wa naktafi bihadha al-qadr.
You know, this fear of not getting pregnant. It's a fear of not don't want to get pregnant. Fear. This is fear. I don't want to get pregnant. So there's the haram technology, haram.
Oh, the in terms of the contraception.
It's haram. You know the implant. It's haram.
I just thought there's a lot of speech regarding the contraception. No doubt. If a person says that they don't want to get pregnant, they have to have a legislative reason for not having a child. They can't just say that I'm worried about not having a child, or I'm worried about having children. No doubt, children are a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they shouldn't negate that blessing. Allah,